Hi, this is Simon from Small Animations, and in today's video I'll be looking at UV mapping in Lightwave 3D. So as everybody knows, UV mapping in Lightwave isn't the most intuitive thing, and the tools are certainly outdated, but hopefully today I can demystify a few of the processes and we can have a look at getting you to a stage where we can easily unwrap a character like this with a nice UV layout, and then you can send that to any other application for texturing. Before we start on a character, let's have a look at some more basic kind of geometry. The tools I actually use are, it's a download and a plugin called PLG Tools. Unfortunately not available on Mac, so what I'll do is I'll run through some processes with PLG, and then we'll try and replicate that with the native Lightwave tools. So if you don't have PLG already, head over to the Lightwave plugin database and just do a search for PLG and download and install the zip. Okay, so here we are, we've just got a basic cube here, and what we want to do is just unwrap this. So let's have a look at the PLG tools first of all. The one we use here is PLG Make UV Edit. So what I'm going to do here is just going to type cube UV, and that's the map it will create. Okay, so let's just set this to factory settings now. Okay, so the way this works is you select your edges, and these will represent your UV seams. So if I come around here and I want to select this edge, nothing happens. So that's because I'm not clicking the handle, which is kind of in the middle of that polygon. If I uncheck hide handle, there you can see that's just a lot easier to select now. You can also let's just drop the tool and start again. You can also select points. So if I select a point and then hold control, select another point, I'm just keeping control held here, and this will run around your kind of edge loops. Okay, so the next part is, let's have a look at this advanced edge. So let's get an edge loop in here. Let's just select that and just edit edges. I'll get a couple of edge loops in there. That'll do. So let's say I want to select this whole edge loop, so I'm going to select this edge here. I'm going to click advanced edge, and nothing happens. And that is because at the moment this threshold angle is 70 degrees, so this angle here is obviously 90 degrees, so it's not going to get past that. So if we set this to 90 and now select the edge, hit advanced edge, and that will now select your whole loop. So if ever you kind of select in your edge loop and it's not quite reaching around your model, you can play around with this this threshold. Okay, so next one is the edge data here. So let's say I'm busy creating my edge loops and I'm happy with that, but I've got to drop the tool. If I just click save edge and then actually drop the tool, this hasn't unwrapped anything, but if I come back in here and load edge, that's now brought back my selection, which is really handy sometimes, you know, on a complicated character or something, and you want to save your progress with your selections and things. You can easily load the data back up, which is great. Okay, so let's just undo everything. We've got our cube here. So what I'm going to do is just select some seams so I can unwrap this. So the way I kind of think about this is if it was like a paper model and you had to kind of flatten it out. So first off, if I select a whole poly like that, that is going to split off that poly into its own square in the UV map. So if I just hit make UV now, it's tried its best to unwrap the rest of it, so I've not selected any seams, but that there is the poly that we've selected. So that's great, but often you want to unwrap everything, so we need to make sure that we don't have a seam where we want connected polys. So let's try that again. So now I'm going to select this, and that will act like it. If you were to unfold this, like open the lid of a box, you can see that would pivot around this point. So we kind of got to think of it in that way, unfolding a cardboard box. So next I want to I'm just going to run this round, and now you can see that's almost split the thing into two pieces. We've got an edge or a seam that goes around here, that's the 3 polys around horizontally, and then this one loops around vertically. So if I hit make UV now, that has created 2 UV islands. Okay, so let's just head back again. So the way to unwrap this would be, this is going to be one flap, this is going to be another flap, so we're opening the top and the bottom of the box, and then let's just split this one, so this is going to unwrap around the horizontal, and now we've got one complete UV map. Okay, so let's try a different shape now. So we've got a cylinder here, so the same principle applies really. I want to have a seam running around here. I've selected my first edge, I'm going to hit advanced edge here, do the same on the base, and then I want to make a cut to unwrap this kind of tube. So there we go, 3 separate pieces. But if I let's get rid of one here and one here, and that's going to actually join the UV map together at that point. So we hit make UV, and now we've got one complete UV island. Nice handy tool as well. If you come into UV, you've got this select UV island that will select the whole thing, where everything's connected. If you've got multiple shapes or something, that will just select everything connected to that in UV, even though things may be welded in here. Okay, let's try something a little bit more complicated now. Come back to my PLG. Sorry, before I do that, let's just have a look at the native tools to see if we can replicate this. So let's just clear my map, UV or map, clear map. So the alternative, if you haven't got the PLG tools, is the ABF UV unwrap. So there's no kind of settings or anything like this, it's just as is. So the way this works, very similar to PLG, it will unwrap wherever you've got edges selected. So I'm just going to do a similar selection as I had before. I hit ABF unwrap, and that's done its best to fit it, so it will kind of rotate it around to try and find the best fit, so you have to manually kind of arrange your UV map here. So that kind of works there. Let's try again with this one. Just going to select my edge loop. Don't know why that's not selecting with my tools, but there we go. We'll select that edge loop, select this one, and then again I'm just going to deselect a couple of these, hit the ABF unwrap. We've got that there. Okay, so you see how it comes in kind of a bit wonky. One of the great things in the PLG tools is we've got an align chart direction, So unfortunately Mac users, you're not going to have this, but you can see there how, you know, if that comes in at a wonk, we can just align that there, and it's really handy for kind of keeping UV maps organized. Just another thing with PLG which is useful, I'm just going to copy and paste a few of these. Okay, so we've got 4 objects with the same UV map, but what about if we wanted to texture those differently? If in native you have to select one, move that off, select the next one, just keep arranging. Last one, and then we have to try and fit that as best possible into our UV space. So a bit of a pain, but if you're on PC and using PLG, we can come here to where are we? Pack UV chart. So we can hit this one, adjust scaling to 3D mesh. Let's undo that. So if we just go pack UV chart, and now that's packed them the best it possibly can. Default values kind of work fine for that. Just as a note here as well, it's let's say these are all different sizes. We'll go for a tiny one as well. And then we go to pack UV chart with the adjust scaling to 3D mesh, hit go, and that will scale the UV proportionally so that we're not wasting texture space on something that's going to appear very small on screen. Kind of handy. Right, so let's go for something slightly more complicated. So again, it's just a case of really thinking through where your seams need to be and how you want to texture this. So let's have a look here. So obviously it's going to be awkward here to try and map this as is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, well, actually let's treat this as though it's a separate object here, and then we'll unfold these flaps. Okay. So that's going to cut it into its own object, and then it's going to open out all of these flaps to create almost like a plus sign. Then we can do our box as we did before. So I'm just going to do that kind of standard flap on the top, flap on the bottom, and then one at the side. And for this one, maybe we want the texture to run around this this side plate. So what we'll do is we'll cut it off completely at this point. So now it's going to be treated as its own kind of UV island. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to unwrap here, and then I'm just going to do 3 sides on there. So that will unwrap this side here all the way round, split here, and then it will unfold this top part. So you can see the difference there. We've got this one where we'd want to run some bricks around there, and it makes it easier for texturing, or this one here which is the plus shape, and you can kind of see how those are differently mapped. Looks like I've made a mistake somewhere with the mapping. I've created 2 uprights here, so it's created 2 UV islands, so I can correct that. We haven't hit enter, we've still got the tool, so what I can do is just uncheck that, hit make UV again, and now we've got our UV islands as we need them. We can hit pack UV chart, and that will do its best to fit everything proportionately. So it's kind of the same with the character really. So it's just looking at the different areas and thinking how are they going to unfold. So let's just get rid of his colour map there, and I'm going to just remove his UV map. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. If you've got a symmetrical character, that really helps. It means you can, for instance, kind of UV map one arm, and then you can mirror that across to the other side. That saves a bit of time. So let's have a look what we've got here. So first off, I'm going to say, well, let's just look at his head. So let's just select his head there, and what we'll do is literally just chop it off, and we'll treat that as its own object, because we can weld all this stuff back together afterwards. So usually with a character like this, very simple, you want to keep his face intact. There's not much detail here in the ears, so they'll unwrap nicely. So really all we want to be doing is, let's do this with the native for you Mac users. Same principle with PLG Tools, just about the selection. So what we're going to do is, most of the time, a seam up the back is the kind of best option. So I think what I'm going to do is just unwrap around here, so we can kind of separate the top of his kind of hair bun to a degree. Something like that, and then we can do another split here, and we'll kind of make another flap here, so it'll kind of unwrap around here, and then this part will kind of flap up. Right, so that looks like it to me. So if we hit our ABF unwrap, we kind of get this. This is the kind of difference really with the ABF. You're going to have to move stuff manually, or kind of map it in a slightly different way, because we've got no parameters to kind of edit here. So with ABF, maybe you chop that whole piece off, and then you can rotate this into place. So if I just quickly do that with the PLG, you'll see it does a slightly better job of unwrapping. So let's just jump in here. Advance edge. You can see that's just with the click of a button, that's kind of done what we needed to do there. I'm just going to uncheck that, and then I'm just going to do an edge loop around there. Advance edge, advance edge, and then I'm going to allow that to kind of join on here. You can see there, that's just a little bit cleaner. There may be a little bit of manual cleanup on that. But the kind of principle is the same with both. Okay, so that's the head mapped. Now let's reveal the rest of our body here. So next I'm going to take his legs. So we can see here we've got this sumo wrestler's kind of skimpy outfit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this off, just so that we know what we're dealing with here. So I'm just going to select the edge loops. Okay, just bear with me while I select these. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that out. Looks like I've missed a couple. And around the back. No. Okay, so let's cut that and paste it back in. Okay, so now we're going to unwrap this. So again, let's turn off double-sided on this just quickly. So the best way to unwrap this, I think it would be to we could split it at the back, because we'll kind of probably look at the back of a character a bit less. So I'm just going to split this here and here. Or in fact, an easier way would be, let's split this here. This is now going to fold this down, and then we'll just create a seam here, and then it will unwrap around here. So now we have something like that. I mean, that's probably kind of too big, but we can probably look at doing it a slightly different way. I mean, sometimes it's trial and error to see what the kind of best unwrapping is for your character. So this is probably a good place to split, because this is between the character's legs. I doubt the camera's going to be looking up there very often, so let's try a split here. And now we've got that. So again, completely up to you how you want to manage this. Same works again in ABF. So let's select our edges. I'm going to go for 2 parts this time. Select my edge. Something like that, and then we'll go ABF. That's it. Okay, so what have we got so far? We've got his head and his kind of nappy thing mapped. So let's hide those. So next, let's have a look at his arm. Sometimes a little bit complicated due to the being fingers and things, but you can kind of just break it down into its main shapes. So let's cut that out, paste it back in and hide. So let's have a look where would be best to split this. So often with the hands and things, I just make a kind of edge loop that runs around all the fingers, so we kind of open the hand out around this point. So let's just try that for now. I'm going to select an edge here and select another one here. Again here, you can see it's missing out a few of those, but we can go and tidy that up. And this time let's go here and here, and then let's go here. So at the moment that is going to split. Maybe I don't want that last one. Got it selected all the way around here. Okay. So at the moment we've got a split down the arm there, and it's coming around to here, and let's take this one here. So let's just run this up the thumb. There we go. this one's out the fingers here. See, sometimes this is where ABF is a bit annoying, in that if you select the wrong thing and push your edge loop tool, it's going to run around the whole model, and it's a real pain. But let's see what we've got here. Okay, so that looks okay. Let's see what we get. ABF, and that's split into two separate. Or has it? It hasn't, because I'm joined here. Let's go again. So that's two separate arms here, but we probably don't want two separate pieces, so we need to look for a good place for it to join. So I would suggest that usually you want it to join along the outside finger, sort of with your pinky, and then we can unselect, deselect this seam here. Let's go again, and now you can see that's a fairly decent unwrap there. Same process in PLG Tools, just make sure you've got your edge selection and off you go. So that'd probably do for me on that. So let's just grab our other arm and let's mirror that. Probably a good idea to make sure your character's centered first. Let's just move that in, modify center X. Okay, so hopefully now this should mirror. Okay, so there we go. So obviously if your character isn't symmetrical, you're going to have to do the process twice, once for each arm. So let's just have a look at the pieces we've got here. So we've got the head, got the arm, that's both arms. Let's select this one. So we've got both arms there now. We've got his nappy, as I like to call it. Okay, so you can see here it's left these red points. Can actually clear those out. So if I just go into point mode, select those points and UV or map, clear map. You can see they're still selected, but that hasn't affected the UV, so it's just a nice way of keeping things tidy. So next part, we'll have a look at his legs. So I'm going to delete out one of his legs because we only need one. We'll mirror the other, and let's have a look where we need to unwrap here. So for something like this, usually I would select the base of the foot. So we've got a nice edge loop that runs around there, and then let's have a look. We've got an inside leg seam here. It's kind of a decent place to do it with the legs. Okay, let's just have a look what that's like. UV, ABF, and you can see there that's split off the foot and unwrap the leg. But we want a single UV island, so I'm just going to uncheck some of these and hit go again, and you can see there now that's kind of joined into one complete UV island. May want to just tidy this little area up here. Let's try again. There we go. So that's the leg. So let's just mirror that. and it's not looking too bad now. So it's just the body left to do now. You see how quick it is once you kind of get into the process. So this one should be really easy. We want a nice clean map on the front. We could either just run a seam down the back. So I'm just pressing my arrow key just to get that edge loop, and then hit the ABF. You can see there that is just unwrapped really nicely. And there we go. So this is where PLG comes into its own, is packing this into a kind of UV chart. If you're just native Lightwave, unfortunately you've got to do this manually, but I guess this is where you're let's just weld that back together a minute. So we've got one complete object now. So if I select this arm and select connected, that does the whole lot. But obviously if I select a polygon here and come to select UV island, that will just select those polys in that UV island, which is really handy when you're kind of packing your UV chart. So let's just move some of these things out of the way. So PLG Tools, obviously I can come in here and I can just hit my pack UV chart, hit go, and that will now just pack UV map into the area. It's kind of really easy, and I can hit a line chart that will sometimes fix any errors, but this doesn't look too bad at the minute. Obviously if you're just using native Lightwave, you can just spend a little bit of time kind of finding your, just making sure nothing's selected, finding your best layout. You know, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to take you forever just to kind of arrange these. Also, if you've got a symmetrical character and you only want to texture half of it, you know, you can remirror and leave the UVs over the top of each other to save texture space. So rather than bore you with aligning everything, I'm just going to hit pack UV chart. Just going to set this at 96. That's kind of a decent number for getting a bit more space. And then I'm just going to clean up these points. The map, clear map. And that's it. We've got a nice kind of clean texture map or UV chart, and we can export that for painting textures or doing whatever you want with it. So hopefully you've got a grip of a process that you can use now to unwrap any object you want. Thanks for watching.